Hi, Jill.
Hi, Maria.
Welcome. Are you up in Manhattan? Is that where
I
I'm catching
am.
you? All
I
right. I'm
am.
down in Princeton.
Yay,
And
Tigers.
yay, go Tigers. I know. I'm a Princeton resident. You're a Princeton alumnus. So I guess we have to sort of dedicate the show to Princeton. Um, this is Gynecollege, which is a Facebook Live show that I'm doing to help educate women about important topics in physical health and behavioral health. So tonight we're going to focus on the latter, on behavioral health, and in a post pandemic or during pandemic period. I think this can't be stressed enough how important behavioral health is, and stress, and managing stress. And tonight my guest is Dr. Jill Barron, who is an integrative and functional medicine physician in Manhattan and the author of a new best-selling book, Don't Mess with Stress. She can hold it up for you. Yeah, that's as sophisticated as we're going to get tonight, but it's easy to read the title. It's on Amazon, which means nobody on the planet does not have access to buying that book. And it's a lovely, simple guide that she put a lot of thought and time into to help give us some tools and techniques to strengthen our minds, our bodies, and our immune systems, which I think we all need anytime, but especially during this time. So I am so grateful that you're willing to come here tonight and talk with me and educate the listeners, not just in the women's healthcare of Princeton community, but beyond that, because we live in an age where everybody's now sent this link to all their friends. So her book again is called Don't Mess with Stress. This is Dr. Jill Barron, and I would like you, Jill, to just start with your own story a little bit and tell us how you came to decide to write a book and to write this book. How
Yeah.
did this come of age?
Yeah. Thank you, Maria. And thanks for inviting me to be on this show with you. So, growing up, I had a lot of anxiety and stress, and I was always on a mission, a journey to manage my stress. I learned transcendental meditation when I was about 17. And throughout the years, I've been studying with different people and educating myself about how to manage my stress. And I felt that it was important, especially now during the pandemic, to have a book that would help people to manage their stress, especially women, to manage our stress. And this book took me over 20 years to write, believe it or not. It was stressful writing, and there were many fits and starts, but I persisted and decided to get this book out.
Good. And so it was a way to sort of sum all your own learnings about stress, it sounds like, and stress management. I mean, yeah.
Exactly. And one of the basic themes behind this book is that the book is called Don't Mess with Stress, a simple guide to managing stress, optimizing health, and making the world a better place. Because when you feel good about yourself, mind, body, and spirit, you're apt to be nice to someone else. And there's
Right.
a feed forward, positive ripple effect, which can make the world a better place. When I'm feeling good, if I see someone in the subway who's wearing a really nice suit, let's say a woman or a dress, wearing a nice dress, and I say to that person with integrity, that's a really nice dress. It's happened to me, and the person was like, oh my God, thank you. That
Right.
person will walk off that subway and probably be nicer to the next person
Yes.
they encounter.
For sure. Paying it forward is a real thing. And any menopausal patient knows that there are times when we are stressed and it's almost out of our control, whether it's a hormonal fluctuations or whatever, that we are short fused and that we may behave in a way we don't normally or we don't want to, and that can have a ripple effect on our family and our friends and our spouses, for sure. For
Totally.
sure. Sure,
Totally.
sure. So, but tell me, why is stress itself so harmful? Because there's a lot been written about stress and disease and inflammation. What's the connection there?
Right. So there's this thing called the stress response, or also known as the fight or flight response.
Right.
And we learned about that. I'm sure a lot of people on this call learned about that. And basically, we have two nervous systems under what's called the autonomic nervous system: the parasympathetic or peaceful nervous system, and the sympathetic or the stressful nervous system, which is the stress response. The idea is that you want to be calm, most of the time and less
Right.
reactive. And so what happens is, let's say you see a mugger on the street, God forbid, right? What happens is there are chemicals released from your brain which go to your adrenal gland and pour out stress hormones, adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, and cortisol. And what these hormones do is they cause your your pupils to dilate so you can see what's going on. They cause your heart to beat faster. They cause your bronchi in your lungs to dilate so you can get more air in. And they divert blood away from your digestive organs and your sex organs to the big muscles of your arms and your legs so you can either fight or flee. Now, this stress response is really a primitive response. It evolved years ago when our forefathers and foremothers were foraging for food. If they saw a tiger coming towards them, they had to either fight or flee. Now, we need this stress response in acute situations, but if the stress response is going on all the time, let's say you're standing in the 10-item line in the supermarket and there's someone in front of you with 20 items, and your heart rate is starting to go up, so you're just standing there and all these hormones are being produced, right? Your stress response is going, and that is not good. Plus, you're not even using the sugar, which is broken down as the energy to either fight or flee. So it's the chronic release of these stress hormones that causes tremendous damage, and it causes a lot of inflammation. I also want to talk about what's called a freeze. So there's fight, flight, and also there's a new thing called freeze. And that's kind of what's called like a numbing out. Let's say there was a video, I think on YouTube, where they showed a woman who was walking on a trail, and all of a sudden a bear came out. And somebody was shooting this, and the bear came out and actually came over to this woman, and she literally froze. She didn't move because she couldn't think, she just stood there and kind of numbed out. And that's called the freezing response, where people can have this. And it's another arm of the fight or flight response, the stress response. Just lost you. Can't hear you all of a sudden.
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry about that. Yeah. So okay, we know about fight and flight, and now we know about freeze. What's the link between stress and disease? Is there an inflammatory link? Does stress lead to inflammation? When you talk in the book about aging,
Right.
help me understand what you mean by that term. It's a cute term, but I
Yeah.
want to understand how it
Right.
links.
Inflammation. Exactly. So what happens is when you have the stress response kind of going off several times a day, what's happening is you're releasing white blood cells and you're affecting the immune system. And you're causing what's called inflammation, which is the release of white blood cells and different mediators that are released from the immune system that can cause many diseases. And inflammation really is a precursor to cancer. Now, what are some of the diseases that you can get from chronic stress? Well, you get inflammation, and then you can get neurologic diseases like Parkinson's. You can get potentially Alzheimer's. And you can get autoimmune diseases, arthritis, lung diseases, diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular disease. I'm not saying that if you're stressed and chronically stressed, it's going to happen to you.
You will, right?
But it puts you at risk for these diseases. And the reason why it's called inflammaging, that was a term that was coined, is because when you have a lot of inflammation, you age. And when you have the stress response constantly going on, it affects what's called the telomeres, the caps on the end of chromosomes. You think of like a match and like a little red thing, little red, or at the end of the match that you light, that little cap shrinks down with age. And stress reduction techniques have been shown to possibly elongate that telomere cap. So the shortening of the telomere is a marker of aging. And so when you have inflammation, you are aging your body.
Okay. I mean, that is so amazing that A, we can even figure that out, and B, that something as simple as stress reduction could do that, because there's no side effects, there's no medications. It's just right. It's just getting a hold of your stress. But of course, as you've told us, it's not as easy as we think. but you have your book deals with this. Your book talks about a core four, and tell me a little bit about the core four and how applying these can help you develop. Well, I also kind of want to know about developing resilience. I'm very curious about this topic because what I'm finding with my own patients and myself and my friends and family is that after 12 months of quarantine or losing friends or family to COVID, or frontline workers like myself getting really burnt out, how do we develop resilience? How do we not just manage stress? How do we pick ourselves back up and maybe even emerge stronger and help me
Great
with that?
question. That's also one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because in the process of learning how to manage your stress, as I outline in the book, you can get healthier. And the whole format of this book is to increase what's called resilience and stress hardiness. Now, I have a slide, which I have here. It's called "Life is not about how fast you run or how high you climb, but how well you bounce." Now, and if you think about, I don't know if there are people in the audience who remember, when I was a kid, they had these plastic clowns that were weighted on the bottom, and you could actually hit this clown,
Yeah.
it would go down, right? And it would come back up, right?
Right.
So you can think about resilience as when you're pushed off your center. It's how fast you can come back. So if you have the death of a spouse or the loss of a parent, or you've lost your job, or any of them, or you've gotten COVID, or any of the myriad things that can cause a real life change, when you have something in place physiologically and in your brain, how you think, it can help you to come back quicker to your center. If you don't have a lot of stress hardiness, what they call stress hardiness or resilience, you can stay down for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So I developed this core four, and it's based on the 4 letters of this book. So my mother, who's 94, coined this title a while ago when she was a little younger, and "Don't Mess with Stress." And I figured out that each of the letters of this title forms, all of them together form the core four. So D is diet, M is meditate, W is walk and move and exercise, and S is sleep. Now, I don't want people who are listening to get stressed out if they don't have any of these core four handled, okay? It's all about baby steps. And just to kind of know that when you get all these things going, that you're going to be more resilient. And so just to go into those things a little more in detail, I think would be helpful. So
yeah, let's start with diet.
Right. And so, and also, overall, if you think about this, you want to take out the bad stuff, right? And you want to put in the good things. Or if you're eating quote unquote bad stuff and you don't want to get rid of, like, let's say sugar right away, you can add good things. So let's go to diet.
Okay.
All right. And so basic principles, like you want to avoid things, and you probably all know this stuff, but it helps to hear it again. I know I need to hear it a lot of times. So, you want to avoid processed food because processed food causes inflammation. And included in processed food is sugar. Now, sugar is very interesting. I think, sugar could give us sweetness, a little bit of sweetness, or a lot if you eat a lot of sugar. And a little bit of sugar is probably okay. But what sugar does is sugar binds to proteins in the brain and the body. And it creates what is called AGEs products, which is kind of ironic. Which stands for advanced glycation end products. And so what happens is the sugar binds to proteins in our brain and in our body, and it causes these end products which kind of like gunk up our brain and our body. And so, and that causes inflammation. So, I started to kind of limit. I still have sugar, but I don't have it as much because I know what I'm doing it to my brain. And also, if you have too much sugar, it can make you feel stressed. It can make you feel jittery. Yeah. So these things are all tied in. And an interesting tidbit, which I found out, which I didn't know, is that there are 4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon. So if you have a can of Coke, let's say, or a can of cola, and a jar or a bottle of apple juice. Now, those apple juice is liquid sugar. I mean, and you know, if you were given a choice, they both have a lot of sugar. And if you look at the back of these things, you'll see, you should read labels. I think there are 55 grams of sugar in Coke, I think. And there's probably a similar number in apple juice. So the idea, another tenet, another tool is that you want to try and eat whole foods and not have juices so much, because these become liquid sugar, which can really not be good for your brain. And so ideally, let's say you were in a situation where you had either a choice of having apple juice, or let's say on a plane and you didn't have any water, you had a choice that you were thirsty, you should have the apple juice. But just know that it's a lot of sugar in there. Okay, right. So a couple of key points about diet. You want to think about anti-inflammatory. I hate to use the word anti, but that's the best we have right now in terms of, kind of anti-inflammatory. So you want to have a variety of vegetables and fruits, 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, different colors. Avoid juices, like I said, processed foods, avoid that. Avoid sugar, limit sugar, eat whole foods. You want to have a lot of fiber, so it's good for your gut. Soluble and insoluble fiber, about 25 to 30 grams of fiber. You can get fiber in apple skin. Pectin is a type of soluble fiber. If you can eat wheat, you can have wheat germ. These are all, like chia seeds, these are all things that you can have. And here on this slide, you want to have adequate hydration. They say that if you want to figure out how much water to drink, a good thing is you can drink, let's say you weigh 140 pounds, you want to divide that by 2, and that's about 70 pounds, and you divide that by 8 ounces. It's about 6 glasses of water or so a day, right? And then also cooking with things like turmeric. So turmeric is a very anti-inflammatory spice. And it's interesting because in India, I believe, has one of the lowest rates of Alzheimer's. And it may be because they eat a lot of turmeric, also called curcumin. Now, what I do is you can take some olive oil. Don't put it up so high, because if you cook olive oil at a very high light, you can oxidize it and make it harmful. So cook olive oil on a medium light. You can put some turmeric in there, and then put some black pepper, because black pepper, which is also called bioperine, is it turns on it activates the turmeric. So that's a way of doing that. So you can cook that and then put some vegetables in there, maybe some tofu, or if you eat chicken, ideally organic, that's a very good meal. So also you want to think about fatty fish, the omega-3 fats. If you don't get enough in your diet, I would recommend having some fish oil, both EPA and DHA, about 1,000 milligrams together. And you want to think about fish like sardines and anchovies and wild salmon. About 2 or 3 servings a week of those fish. And then if you are a vegan, you don't get really any B12. So people who are vegan need to take a supplement of B12. And also, I test all my patients, whether they're vegans, vegetarians, they eat meat. All my patients get a vitamin B12 level, what's called a methylmalonic acid level. That's the true stores of vitamin B12. And also we need D3. Vitamin D3 is also very helpful for the pandemic. It's COVID protective. And it's important to get your levels drawn so that you can get an adequate dose of that.
Wow. Thank you. That's so helpful. I didn't know that about D3, and D3 is protective against COVID?
COVID protective, yes. There's a lot of research about that.
That's super fascinating. Did not know that. So we would order, as a physician, we would order a D3 and a B12, or the B12 is that methylmalonic acid?
Well, no, so what you do is, all my patients I do a vitamin B12 and folic acid. Mm-hmm. And then I order a 25 hydroxy vitamin D. There's a lot of controversy about vitamin D, and sometimes now some of Medicare is not covering it. It's ridiculous. But you want to have a vitamin D level above 30. And ideally, probably between 50 and 80 of the 25 hydroxy vitamin D3.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. That's great to know. Wow. That's so helpful, because I think people come in all the time and they just say, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to eat healthy, but often, they'll be drinking apple juice, or they'll be having salad, and they're having dressing on their salad, and that dressing is just oil and mayonnaise, and it's sort of reversing all the health benefits of the salad. So I tend to have patients whip up a little lemon juice with a little olive oil,
Perfect.
or even lime with a little bit of honey, which is a sugar, but at least
A
they're
little bit
avoiding
won't
the
hurt you.
yeah, at least they're avoiding that bottled dressing that's just gunked on it. So I think, if you're not sure, what advice would you give to people who want to eat healthier? I mean, I guess they could talk to a nutritionist. That's often
They can.
covered.
I think on the Institute for Functional Medicine, ifm.org, there may be some information for patients, and maybe some things about diet.
Yeah,
It's actually really simple in a way if you think about it. If we think about just eating simply,
yeah,
having some vegetables at dinner and lunch,
yeah.
having a protein, whether it's a beans or
Egg
tofu,
white.
right, fish, and then and try not to have too much processed foods.
Yeah,
And maybe
yeah.
even trying to experiment, try and have dinner for breakfast. I have a patient who has
Why did
MS, and he was saying that he was having a smoothie, and he began to feel some of his symptoms, and it may be, he said, could it be all the sugar in the smoothie? I said, it could be. It could make you feel jittery.
right?
So he said, when I eat like salmon and vegetables and sweet potato, I feel amazing. It's an
Yeah,
experiment. You can try that for
yeah.
breakfast.
Yeah, many of my patients find that when they have sweet things for breakfast, even healthy sweet things, they're hungry an hour later. Whereas if they have a little egg white with some cottage cheese, or an egg on a muffin or something, they're English muffin, they're fine. That'll
Right,
take them through to lunch. So
right.
I do think having sugar in the morning, it must stimulate something where you just feel hungry after that. So I
And if
think
you,
you
if
should.
you also feel anxious, jittery
Yeah,
from that.
yeah,
And then once the sugar, if you have a candy bar or a muffin, your sugar drops quickly because the insulin packs it away, and then you're a half hour in
correct.
and you're hungry.
Correct. So what about meditation? I mean, let's go on to the don't mess with stress. Let's get into mess.
Yeah,
What's about meditation?
meditation. Yeah. So I learned to meditate when I was 17 years old, and I've been doing it on and off, mostly on for most of my life. And I did it before this talk. And in my book, I talk about different types of meditation. There's not one way. I do TM, Transcendental Meditation. You can go to www.tm.org. There's also mindfulness. There's also what's called sky breath. It's artofliving.org. And you can experiment. But I think it's important to have a daily practice, even if you take a minute to close your eyes and just quiet your mind. And there are many benefits of meditation. Stress reduction. It can help with depression and anxiety, pain and insomnia decrease. Can increase quality of life, increase creativity. You can get brain changes, increased connections. There's so much, and there's a lot of research about it. It can lower blood pressure. So I thought that maybe we can do a little, like a 1 minute meditation for people, so I could teach them how to do it.
I would
And,
love that.
and we'll just do a brief meditation. And again, don't be stressed about having to do a whole big practice. Just start with a minute, and start with a minute twice a day. Or if you're in the middle of your day and you feel stressed, just close your eyes. I always say, when in doubt, breathe. All right, that's an in the moment technique I talk about. So why don't we all close our eyes, just sit down, sit comfortably. You can put your feet on the ground if you want. You could do it if you're on a bed. Just sit with your head not on a pillow, because you'll fall asleep. And if you can use meditation to fall asleep, but ideally you want to be sitting up, and just close your eyes and just breathe nice and easy as your body comes down. You take about a half a minute to just relax. It may go over more than a minute, but it's okay. And before you know it, what you should do is just now follow the breath as it goes in through your nose and out through your mouth. If you're breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, that's okay. But just have your awareness on the breath as the breath goes as you inspire and as you exhale. Just have your awareness on the breath. You can feel your body start to calm down. And before you know it, you're probably having thoughts like, I'm hungry, or I have that report due tomorrow and I'm on this webinar. When you realize that you're having thoughts, even in mid-thought, just shift your awareness back to the breath. And now, just to come out of it a little bit, you can rub your hands together, and you could slowly open your eyes. Again, I was mindful of the time, we're running, it's going to be over soon, but I wanted to give you a taste. So just to sum up what I just taught you is sit down, sit comfortably, and then close your eyes and just follow the breath going in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just gently do that. And then you're probably going to have thoughts, which is totally natural. And when you have a thought, even in mid-thought, shift your awareness back to the breath. And then take about a minute or so to rub your hands together so your heart rate goes up and your respirations go up a little bit normally, and then you could get up.
Yeah.
But it's best to do it, ideally, aim for 20 minutes, but just start slow.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I love that you're giving us all permission to do it minimally, because I think people say, I'm crazy busy. I have to run home and get dinner on. And as soon as I walk in the door, I leave the stress from my job for the stress of managing my home and my family. And a wonderful clinician once said to me, the world is not going to stop if you walk in the door at 5:15 and you take from 5:15 to 5:30 and you close the door and you just meditate. And then at 5:30 you emerge and you are 100% engaged in what you do. And I thought, oh no, I can't possibly, but you can. And you can. And that you've given us permission to say, take a minute for yourself or take 10 minutes for yourself.
Exactly. And it's funny, before I went on and when I was getting ready, for some reason, the word rest came up in my awareness. And I said, I need to tell everybody to take time to rest. It's so important, for building resilience.
Right.
And that, in terms of, we'll get to sleep if we have time, but to rest and listen to your body, even though, we're taught to kind of keep on pushing and going through.
Right.
Listen to your body.
And rest is different than sleep. It is a different thing.
It is.
And I think at least a lot of Americans feel that rest is something they do twice a year when they whisk away to a vacation and they rest at some resort with a drink with a little bamboo thing. And I think that, and that sounds nice, but imagine if we could just build it in a little cocoon of rest every day, to ourselves.
And
we use our smartphones for everything. What if we all just had a little alarm that said 4:30 to 4:35 is my rest time, and we just did it? I mean, I think it would really be a wonderful reset, or whatever time works for you. That's sort of when I start feeling like I'm dragging through my day.
We'd be nicer to the people we then encounter.
Right. I mean, that's truer words were never said. And I like what you said about finish your meditation and then open your eyes, clap your hands, stretch your arms, do something to wake you up and re-engage you, which brings us back to the next thing, which is walking. So don't mess with stress. With W is also walking. So if anybody missed that, if anybody joined lately, Dr. Jill Barron's book, Don't Mess with Stress, also could stand for Diet, Meditation, Walk, and Sleep, DMWS. So it's certainly super easy to remember. So walking, I mean, we kind of know about it, but do you want to give it your quick Jill blessing?
Yeah, so there's a thing I saw a sign called Beware the Chair. We're all sitting. A lot of us are sitting a lot of the day. And it's very easy I found it with myself that if I sit for a long period of time, I get stiff, and it's not good for our cardiovascular systems. And they say that when you sit too much, that it really increases the risk of what's called cardiometabolic disease. So high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. So and we know that exercise really makes us feel good. And walking is the way to start. If you're not exercising, again, anything that we're talking about today, it's important before you really institute is, get yourself checked out by a doctor, get a stress test if you're over 50 or you have heart risk factors such as high cholesterol or you're a little bit overweight. So it's good to start with the walking. And, the American Heart Association says that if we can get about 150 minutes of aerobic exercise, even walking, a week, and that can be divided up even in 10-minute increments. So if you, let's say, you want to go for a 10-minute walk, that's something, and you want to come back and maybe work for a little while and then maybe go for a 10-minute walk again. Or if you're working in your house, you can get up every hour for 5 minutes. So you work for 50 minutes or 55 minutes and then get up and move around. You can put on some music and dance. And dance there's a lot of benefits to dancing. And there's a lot of research. You can really dance your way to health. I can't talk about that. But there's a lot of health benefits to dancing for your heart, cardiovascular fitness. And it's really an exercise equivalent if you really can do the dancing for some time. So
you get the social benefit. Plus you get that social connectivity that's critical.
Totally. I mean, and it can help relieve constipation potentially. It makes you more flexible, stress reduction, increase that blood flow to your genitals, increase libido in your brain. It can improve self-esteem, mood, strength, the immune system, brain health, like memorizing moves, like doing the tango. There's evidence that when you learn the tango and you learn the moves, you are creating new neural pathways, also called neuroplasticity. You're creating new connections because you're thinking about the moves. And I think I have a Don't Mess with Stress dance. I don't know if we have time for me to show that. Do we have time?
You want to do it? Do it.
I'll do it.
I think it does. It only takes a minute.
It does. So I created this little dance. I was walking to work. When I walked to work in the city, I was thinking about these things. And I said, God, I have an idea for a dance. So everybody, I can't see anybody, but if you want to stand up. So when you're working, right? And I don't know if you can see me, but you can get up, you can start marching. Just start moving your body, marching in place. And I'm going to teach you 4 movements that correlate with Don't Mess with Stress. So the first one's going to be diet, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to move my hands. So the first move is diet. So you start moving, and this is diet. The second one is sorry, that's wrong. Diet is this. See that? It's making me think. So diet, meditate, walk, sleep. So do it again. We'll do it 3 times. Ready? We'll do it again. We'll do it 3 times. So start marching. So remember, diet, meditate, walk, sleep. So we'll do it slowly.
All right.
Diet, meditate, walk, sleep. Again, diet, meditate, walk, sleep. One more time. Diet, meditate, walk, sleep, and what? Me. Say me. We. So what's great about that is you can even walk around your house or your office a little if no one sees you and do these moves. And what's great about this is that, it's hard to think about these movements. I've been doing that, is this diet? Is this diet? But it's making you think. And I believe that's creating new connections because you're trying to learn these moves.
Yeah. Anything. I mean, and it gets you off your bottom during the 80 straight hours of Zoom calls that you're doing. So, only because it's sort of programmed. You say, okay, I'm going to do this. And I have had so many patients complain that they are just zoomed out. They're zoned out. They're numb. They're not able to focus anymore. they're stiff, they're sedentary, then
Yes.
they stress eat as a response. I have so many
Right.
patients who've gained weight and they said, I just feel, I think they feel that since they sit all day, they want to get up and the kitchen's right there and they just eat. And so now that the weather's getting nice, I think we should really be transitioning to getting up and out. But they feel they're losing productivity time. And this
I
is where,
understand.
we have to
Yeah.
just say, no, you're better. You're
And,
better off, right?
and if you can get into nature, there's a whole thing called forest bathing in Japan, but there's a term called biophilia, Biophilia. I believe it was coined by E.O. Wilson at Harvard. And that's also about using the senses, to improve your life. So if you live in an area or where you have, like, you face a not nice sight, maybe put like a beautiful image, a poster of green, of grass on your window. So when you see that, you feel good, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
tactile, massage, smell, taste. And
Right.
these things all, I think, really create endorphins and make you feel better. So being
And
in
this
nature also is a stress reducer.
That's wonderful. And for those of us that love nature, we know that there's something about it that sort of speaks to our soul or parts of our brain we don't necessarily even understand we're connecting with, but we feel happy, whether it's a mountain or a sea. I mean, we
So
all know people that love the mountains or that love the sea, and they can't even articulate exactly why, but they feel more connected to themselves and they feel happier.
yes,
I think this links into all that. So philia, of course, is Greek to love.
right.
So biophilia is sort of a love of what? Of biology, of life,
Of life, right, of
yeah.
life.
So
Yes.
it's a neat term. I'd like to look into that. I'd love to if you have any advice on E.O.
Well,
Wilson's paper or book.
on my website, actually, I have my blogs, and I have a thing about biophilia. I think you look at,
Oh,
I have my past newsletters.
okay.
I could say about my newsletter, I just changed platforms. So right now, if you went to my website and wanted to sign up for my newsletter and get a free gift, which is my free stress management guide, it's
How do
not
you
worth
do
it.
that? How do
Huh?
you do that? How would you do
So,
that, Joe? You just
so what we're going to do is, if you want to get my newsletter and get my free stress management guide, you can sign up at staff@drjillbarron.com. And my website is www.drjillbarron.com. And if you
got
go
it.
to blog, I have a lot of great, I must say, a lot of good newsletters on there that talk about a lot of things and about stress and about all the healthy things that you can learn about. I really
Good.
research my newsletters, and they're on the blog there. So feel free to go look
Perfect.
at them. Yes.
Thanks. I mean, I may pinch some of them for our Instagram or Facebook so people can make use of all your expertise and the excellent, simple, clear guidelines you give that we all need. We all need them. I don't care how many times we hear them. We need them.
Yes.
Maybe
Me
we're just too
too.
big. Yeah, yeah. What you talk about a concept, gaining control of your mind. What do
Yes.
help me because I'm not sure. I think I lost mine after the fourth child.
Yeah. Yeah. So in my book is a small book. It's a simple book with a lot of tips and things. So it's like 6 chapters. The first part's about my journey, and then the core 4, and the last chapter is about gaining control of your mind, which is really the linchpin, the which really drives everything. So you get resilience from the core 4: diet, meditate, walk, and sleep, and which is also good for your brain.
Right.
But if you don't use your brain in the proper way, which is about how we think about ourselves and how we manage ourselves, then it affects everything else, right? So it's important. I talk about a few things about gaining control of your mind. There are a couple of different categories. One of them is research that having a positive mindset is very, very helpful, and having purpose and meaning in life, and being able to laugh, humor. I mean, in this pandemic, there were so many of those memes, funny things with toilet paper, and that, people were texting, and, it made you laugh, but it was good.
Yeah.
It was a good release.
Yeah.
And I love to laugh. And so, you can go on YouTube and watch funny videos or of pets. And these things are good for your physiology. And then also, what's very important, one of the things is having social connection. Because there's research that if you don't have social connection, you can get dementia. I mean, and also connection with people, with animals. There's a hormone called oxytocin that's released when you're bonding with people and also animals. So that's also helpful. So
now, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Is that connection only live or in person, or if you and I are just chatting on Zoom and we're laughing together, does that count? Or
That's a fantastic question. I would suspect that it counts because we're connecting. That's why Zoom has been so helpful. So in terms of gaining control of your mind, there's another framework, this by having like these things like the mindset and the purpose and the humor and social connection, also compassion. It's like, this is like these like 5 things are like also like the grass, also for your mind, having compassion for yourself. And I just took a course. I'm involved with the New York County Medical Society, and we had a course for doctors about how to have compassion for ourselves and learning how to have compassion, because if we have compassion for ourselves, we can be compassionate to our patients. And there's a great Stanford University. You can go on. I don't have the exact link, but they have compassion cultivation training. So Stanford University, compassion cultivation training. And anybody could go and take the course. It's an 8-week course, and it's fantastic. And I've learned so much. They teach you. So maybe one of the take-homes could be for yourselves tonight is to say to yourself, may I be free from pain and suffering. May I know peace and joy. Or may I, and like, you can say these things inside your brain. You can say them to yourself, and you can say to other people, may you all be free from peace and suffering. May you all know peace and love. I said pain and suffering, peace and love. Yeah. And by saying it to other people, even in your head, it does something physiologically to you and makes you feel better. So that's like the framework about having these things. And then how to use your mind, when in doubt, when you're stressed out, breathe. But the other thing is to have what's called positive self-talk. And that's really the key here is in the moment, what do you say to yourself? And I have to catch myself all the time, even though I'm quote unquote an expert in stress. I fall, I don't always do as well as I could. It's a process. I can say, I think I said the wrong thing, maybe, to someone. Right. Oh my God, what is that person?
I could have done better. I should have done it a different way.
Yeah, I've worked for a day and a half, and I get an email saying, "How you doing?" And it was like I totally didn't really, I worried, and I'm trying to have more compassion for myself, and I'll say that to other people. So, gaining control of your mind is about learning how to do things that are good for yourself. And have positive self-talk, learning how to manage your emotions, learning how to manage your stress. And that also plays in to the core 4, so it's all tied together.
Got it. Well, we have covered so much. I can't believe it. I mean, I know we've run over, but it was just too important to get through all this. And I felt that talking about gaining control of your mind was absolutely the icing on this cake, because in order to live
a gluten-free, low-sugar cake.
Oh yeah, okay, that I don't know. I like
chocolate souffle.
Chocolate souffle. But I think to me, to do the core 4, but not give yourself permission to look in the mirror and say, I'm enough. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing my best. And I know I'm human. I will make mistakes. But to gain control of your mind, I mean, for me, that's, the ultimate. And also as a physician, my gosh, we're taught to have compassion for our patients. But in my training, no one ever told us to have compassion for ourselves.
Same here.
This is novel. Shouldn't be novel, but it is. So hopefully, Jill, you and I can go forward, and you've helped me so much tonight. I'm really, really grateful for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Really.
I can't wait to hear, because I always get feedback from my patients, and I can't wait to hear what they say, and to hope that they'll adopt some of these little pearls. If anybody's listening and you have a question for Dr. Barron, you can certainly ask now. or you can find her. You know how to find her on her website. I know she'd be more than happy to answer you and to help you. She's based in Manhattan, but we live in an era where you can find anybody anyway. And right, do you do Zoom consults or things
I
like
do
that?
Zoom consults.
Yeah,
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 good,
yeah.
good,
I
good.
have to be licensed in the state where I do them.
Right,
But yes,
right,
and I
right.
just
But
want to say I practice integrated and functional medicine. I don't know if we said that. So yes.
we did. But and then there's always your book, which I think I'm going to make sure I have copies in my office because I want my patients to be able to have a resource. And I, I can only be this much for them in a short visit, and this way they can go home and digest it and try to really adopt some of what you've said. We've put a bunch of banners up tonight with snippets of little bits of your wisdom, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to know you and to know that you've finished this project and that it's now out there to help all of us. So again, Dr. Jill Barron, hold your book up one more time for
Oh,
us so
thank
we
you.
can see that. Don't mess with stress. I think it's just what we need in times like this. And I'll bid everyone good night unless anyone has questions. And as I said, you can reach me, Dr. Maria Sophocles, at princetongyn.com. You can reach Dr. Barron at Dr. Jill Barron with one R.com. And Jill, I look forward to seeing you maybe at NAMS, I hope, or something this fall.
Yeah, yeah, Maria. Thank you so much for having me on this show. Really, it was wonderful, and thanks so
Good.
much.
Good. Well, next week we're going a little more, a little less, I guess, a little different. We're just going to do birth control from teens to midlife and what we should do for each age group. And Dr. Heather Gibbons will be my guest, who didn't go to Princeton. She went to Harvard, so I hope you can forgive me. But
I'm
but
wearing the red.
yeah, you're wearing the crimson. She's lovely, and she's now in Princeton, New Jersey, also in my
Oh,
practice, and she's lovely. So we'll hear what she has to say, and please tune into other ones. We enjoy doing this, and Jill, thanks for spreading the word. We really
thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much, Maria.
All right, take care. Good night,
Have a good
everyone.
night. Bye
Good
bye.
night.